Please welcome David Nabarro, Special Advisor to the UN Secretary General on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Climate Change.
I really admire you for your stamina and for just staying to it, and thank you very much. Thank you for the brilliant reception you gave my colleague from Burundi just now. I'm here, first of all, reading a statement from Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, who would really like to be here, but he's kind of busy right now. So here's what he says, and I'm going to read it as though I'm him. Almost. So, Secretary General says, I'm pleased to extend my greetings to all those gathered for the 2016 Social Good Summit. I'm greatly inspired by your passion and ambition to tackle shared challenges and transform our world. Just a year ago, following an unprecedented global conversation across platforms and technologies, world leaders adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I call it the Global Declaration of Interdependence. It is our plan for the future of the world. Leaders committed to create a just, equitable, tolerant, open, and socially inclusive world in which no one is left behind. But success depends on two things: all of us driving action and all of us holding leaders to account. We live at a time of extraordinary progress and potential. Technology and social movements have offered solutions to many challenges, and they've opened extraordinary avenues for participation and people's engagement. At the same time, too many people face barriers from fully participating in their societies. Differences in religion, ethnicity, age, gender, sexual orientation, or ability are being exploited to stoke division and distrust. Inequality, climate change, and conflict pull at the fabric that binds communities together. We are still far from the world we want, but the potential of new technologies and social movements represented by all of you gives me great hope. I encourage you to keep helping to forge innovative pathways to expand opportunities and build a world where all people enjoy dignity, justice, and peace. Thank you for your commitment. And now I'd like to just spend a very short time talking to you about my number one passion, which is world health. I'm a medical doctor who spent many years working in different parts of the world, in Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, after qualifying from a medical school in London. I then went to universities and was a teacher, and then I went and worked for government before joining the World Health Organization to do malaria in 1999. Since then, I've worked on a lot of health issues, on nutrition and food, most recently on Ebola, Zika, and yellow fever, before just taking on this new job with the impossibly long title that you heard just now. You know, as human beings, our bodies are our most precious property. They're a gift. And we don't have spare bodies, so it really does matter how we look after them, and also it matters what kind of threats they're exposed to. And so when I'm thinking about the world that I'd like to see in 2030, I'd like to see several things happen that enable all of us to have a better chance to be healthy. And by all of us, I mean all 7 billion people in our world. First of all, we all need to be in a situation to be able to look after our own health and our own well-being. And that does mean being able to protect ourselves from illness that we might experience as a result of where we live or how we live. Secondly, we all need access to an equal quality of health care, whoever we are, wherever we are, and when we need it. And all of you know that that is one of the biggest inequities in our world at the moment, that it really does depend on where you live and perhaps even on where you were born, whether or not you can access good quality healthcare when you need it. Too often, people get sick and lose enormous amounts of money and also opportunity trying to get access to care. And sometimes they get sick and they don't get better because they can't afford it. So for me, access to affordable healthcare is key. Third one is we need to be ready to deal with disease threats of all kinds. I worked on Ebola in West Africa. I'm working on Zika now. I've been trying to respond to an outbreak of yellow fever in Angola and surrounding countries. And also I'm worried about antibiotics and the build-up of antibiotic resistance, because we use antibiotics in an unreasonable way and expose ourselves to risk as a result of bacteria becoming resistant. So we also need to be ready, therefore, for health threats that can come from infectious agents when we least expect them. And there are more of those coming along because of global warming and also because of deforestation, particularly in poorer countries. And then my fourth theme on health is that I want to be sure that carers everywhere, whoever they are empowered to be more effective. And I'm focusing particularly on carers in the home, people who look after the old, look after the very young, and then carers in the community, nurses and midwives, as well as, of course, doctors, whether they are generalists or specialists. So, in summary, 4 things that I want to see really put at the top of the agenda by world leaders. 1, enabling everybody to be looking after their own health and well-being, mental, physical, spiritual. Number 2, access to healthcare when and where it's needed, with less of a lottery depending on where you were born or who you are. Number 3, really paying attention to disease threats due to infectious diseases, and particularly as a result of antimicrobial resistance, empowering people to be better able to respond to these threats and to deal with diseases like HIV, malaria, tuberculosis. By the way, yesterday we had an incredible time in Montreal in Canada, building up the resources available to the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria. And fourthly, all healthcare workers empowered and respected for what they do. Ladies and gentlemen, those are just some reflections on health and health as an issue, and I want to stress that it is a really central aspect of the Sustainable Development Agenda and the global goals to which we refer. Now, there's one other last thing I'd like to do, and I want to check that it's right for me to do it myself before I disappear. And I'd like to ask for your help with something that we're calling the Social Summit Challenge. Many people from all sections of society have asked how they can help with the global goals. And of course, you've got to know about them, you've got to make sure other people know about them. But what I want to do, and I've dreamed of this for some time, is to make sure there's a place where everybody at any time can collaborate and share what they're doing in relation to the goals. And I'd like to launch with you today a beta version, that test version, of a new SDG collaboration platform where we hope that you can all work together to advance the agenda. It's one of these places, a bit like YouTube, where you can share videos, but this is about sharing videos about what's happening on the Sustainable Development Agenda, and particularly getting to see what happens in the lives of people who are outside our daily vision. The website is at www.un2030agenda.org, and we'd very much like to see whether or not we can get enough user-generated video onto that site that enables people to understand what happens in other communities, to experience lives of other people, share stories, and talk about success, but also talk about challenges. And I'd like to invite you, as participants in this social summit, to be the first users of this platform. So please invite your friends, your follower base, those you work with, to share your stories, use this site, play the role, and tell us how it all goes. If you need to contact me on any of the issues I've talked about, nabarro@un.org. Thanks so much for the chance to speak to you today. Thank you.